Let's talk crochet. Hey folks, it's Mary, aka MercyTriumphs, and this is Slow Crochet. This is episode 079, and I'm coming to you as I tend to do, just to talk about all the things that I've been crocheting this week. So before we get started, I do want to say a big thank you and hello to some new subscribers that have found their way over to my channel. I'm really glad you're here, and thank you to everyone who has been subscribing and commenting and just enjoying being with me in the comment section. Y'all are super encouraging. I always say that at the end of the video, but I thought I should probably switch that up and do it at the beginning instead. So what have I been working on this week? Well, first of all, sigh of relief. I did finish this alpaca scarf that I have been working on. So this is some of the yarn that came home with me from that alpaca field trip, and it turned out so beautifully. So if I'm holding it right just like this, do you think I ought to try to block it? It does kind of tend to curl in on itself just a little bit, but I'm not sure if it really requires blocking. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. The total length of this scarf is, all right, so 87 inches total, and that is 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72, 84, 7 feet. Could that be? I am not that tall, but you know what? In terms of a scarf, I think it is a great length because then you can wrap it around, maybe even a couple of times if you want to, and kind of tuck it in cowl style, or you could just do it once, or you could do all kinds of different twirls and twists as a scarf and not necessarily having to just wrap it. Here's my Sherlock style of scarf twist. There you go. Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock, anyone? There we go. Yeah, so I think that's a great length. I think my friend is really going to love it. I don't even know if she's aware that I'm making it for her, but if you're watching, I have something for you. I know she's caught a couple of my videos, but I'm never quite sure with my friends whether or not they're actually watching. But y'all who just confessed that you actually do watch my videos, I am very aware of that now. So thank you. Hi to you. I hope you're having a great day. Anyway, neither here nor there. Let's talk about the other things that I have worked on this week. Last week I was talking about my flower baby. And I did decide to complete another flower baby. So I have another one in its little bald head entirety. And this one has a slightly different shape of leaf. So I have like the thicker, fatter leaf and a little bit thinner of a leaf. Not incredibly different, but just enough so. I thought that the long, thin leaf worked better with the daffodil hat, but let me show you the other hats that I made. Now the patterns do call for you to sew the flower onto the baby, but I thought, why? Why not just have interchangeable hats? So I have the rose, and then I have the snowdrop. A little bit. This one turned out a little bit bigger. Actually, one of these heads is a little bit bigger than the other, so I have two kind of bigger hats for the bigger head and the other for the other. Okay, so daffodil, rose, snowdrop, and then finally I did, here I'll switch to the other guy. I did the hydrangea. So those are my little flower babies. I think they're all super sweet. They were a little bit cumbersome to put together because there was a lot of little pieces to sew. Here is the book and the author. I can't show you the front because it has because it's interlibrary loan. I'll take this back to the library pretty soon just to make sure that everything kind of stays where it needs to be. I was really working to get all that I could out of this book to make sure that I could turn it back in time. One small note, I did find with the rose pattern that I could have started right where kind of intuition told me to go, but I tried to follow the pattern, and so I think there might be a few errors in the patterns, but if you're interested in it and something looks a little bit strange, just follow your intuition. I think it'll turn out all right. To me, having a little bit extra in the middle that doesn't have a petal on it, it's not a deal breaker on the rose. I still think it's super sweet. And I do love how all of these turned out. So yes, so the daffodil and rose will go together. And then the hydrangea and the dewdrop will go together. This almost looks like it needs to be blocked a little bit just to make sure that those points stay, or maybe not. Maybe it'll just be what it is. Do y'all remember the Ann Geddes phenomenon? That photographer that would dress up little babies in all kinds of different costumes, or just like lay them in different settings, usually with flowers or little cute animals, and take pictures. People would have coffee table books or posters of Ann Geddes. That's what these flower babies remind me of. It's kind of like this flashback to the Ann Geddes days. And it really is kind of sweet. So these are going to be a gift. So I'm going to wrap those up now, and maybe you'll see the little flower baby changing hats somewhere here in the background. I might need to find a way to kind of nestle her into a vase or something of that nature. So those are my completions for this week, and I'm really glad to be done with them because that has meant I've gotten to start new things. Now, one of the things that I started was just kind of grabbing something off of my shelf. It was a ball of yarn that I just had sitting there. And I'm not quite done with it, but I am just using, I think this is a copper corgi yarn. I picked it up from the thrift store, my local yarny thrift store, and I'm just doing my corner to corner hat out of this. I think I'm going to have to modify it a little bit because I'm not sure that I'll have enough to do a full 8 rows of the pattern here, but this will be done pretty soon. This was just something to break up the small amigurumi pieces and also the small hook size on that alpaca scarf. So that's one of the things I do to just kind of keep things interesting and keep my hands working in different ways and not get them too tired out. So that will be done fairly soon. Another thing that I started this week was a sweater. This is the Highline sweater, and I have a swatch, and I have maybe 2 rows done. This is a sweater that involves back loop and third loop half double crochet. Now, I yarn over from front to back. That's just the way that I've always done it when I was learning to crochet. And in fact, I found a picture recently of the day I learned to crochet. I'm going to drop it in right here. This was actually 1997, and I'm holding the first piece of crochet I ever worked on. I was using my great-grandmother's steel hooks, and my cousins and my aunt were teaching me. Happy, happy days there. I'm so thankful for that heritage. So, because I learned from others' experience and not necessarily from any kind of official teacher, I always just yarned over from front to back rather than back to front, which is standard. In half double crochet, when you're working in the third loop, you have to go from back to front. Otherwise, that third loop does not show up. So that means that even though this is kind of a bulkier weight yarn, I'm using a size K hook. I'm using a 6.5 millimeter hook as this yarn recommends. And yes, this is from the recent Hobby Lobby yarn haul. It's one of those, as soon as it's in my stash, I gotta use it. It is gonna be a slower project because every single time I do a half double crochet, I have to think about what I'm doing. So in that sense, it's going to be probably a longer term project, but it's also a very sweet and peaceful one. And because it's such a large size, it will kind of still come together fairly quickly. I'm really excited by this pattern. I think it's going to be a good cozy sweater. And even though we're hitting the heat of summer coming up, I do have some people in my family that need it really cold. Beautiful thing about the South, we have high humidity, high heat, but a lot of air conditioning. So it's always good to have something a little bit toasty just in case, because once you go inside in that air conditioning, all that humidity cools back down and it almost makes it worse, because that hot air is holding on to all that moisture and then you cool it down quickly in the AC, so you just get a little extra burst of cold, at least for me. So it shouldn't be a problem working with that yarn in that heavier weight, even though it is summer. It is super soft to work with. I really am enjoying it. So if you're on the fence about alpaca twist and your Hobby Lobby is having a clearance, I would recommend it. But I will say it is not frog friendly. It gets hung up. So I was trying to frog back my gauge swatch just a little bit. I have a love-hate relationship with gauge swatches in terms of how precise they actually are. But yeah, it's not the easiest to frog, which just means we got to be a little extra intentional, which is what this project calls for anyway. So that's going to be my big project for right now. I do have another little project that I'm working on. This is your hint. Maybe you can guess in the comments what this might be, but it's not done yet. I just need to go ahead and film this video and make sure it gets out here. So if you have any ideas about what this could be, please do let me know. I might have hinted at it in the past. but I would be curious to see if anyone figures it out. Other than that, on my docket for this week is an amigurumi that one of my children has requested. And that child was very excited to see those boxes of little mini skeins that I got from Hobby Lobby. And that child went ahead and picked out just the right colors for this project that they've been wanting me to work on. And so once I'm done with this and that, I'm going to try to take a deep breath and not think about amigurumi for a while. I feel like I've learned a lot about it in recent months, and it has pushed me and it has challenged me, but it does take a lot of concentration from me. I can't just go on autopilot with it. And I also feel like I have to be tied to a pattern. You know, something for me in crochet that makes it really joyful is when there's enough variety that I can stay interested without it becoming cumbersome or burdensome, because I'm constantly checking to be sure that I'm doing the right thing. So that's why I'm drawn to something a bit more repetitive, maybe as a sweater. There's still some variety that's required, or even why I love shawls so very much, because there's so much potential for variety there in keeping things interesting and not feeling overwhelmed, and yet still being able to find a beautiful rhythm in it. I'm not going to apologize for waxing poetic. Y'all understand. If you're on this channel, you understand that I will get very poetic about my yarn and my craft. It's something that we love, and I'm sure that you feel the same way. That's why I love this little YouTube space, because it's so fun to see in the comments different things that I have in common with people, and it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to connect heart to heart with each other in being excited and being delighted over the things that we enjoy in this craft. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your life. I'm really glad that you're part of mine. And if for whatever reason, if you've made it this far and I'm not your cup of tea, thank you for listening this long. I do appreciate you, and I do hope I'll see you again soon.